Hi everyone, Pierrick from P2 Design here. In this video we will start rigging our character by creating the deformation armature first. Let's get started. To be able to give motion and life to our character, we need to create a skeleton or a rig. It's a bit like creating a human skeleton, but instead of adding muscle, we will add function to those bones so that we can move them in space. There are two main steps in creating a rig. First, we will be creating the deformation rig or deformation bones that will currently allow us to bend the limbs, move the torso, etc. And then we will create controllers using also bones but also constraints and parenting to be able to move those limbs and the torso in the most obvious and easy fashion. We will make it as simple as possible so that it will be easy for you to follow even if you haven't any experience in rigging. If you truly want to learn the foundation and advanced level of rigging, I do advise you my latest course, The Art of Effective Rigging. But let's get back to the current tutorial and add an armature. Blender will add a single bone that is bind to an armature. We will call this armature Game Boy. To build the whole skeleton, we will have to go into edit mode. I will call this first bone the root bone. This will be some kind of master bone for the whole armature. Then in the object option, I will set the viewport display to wire and in front. Then in the armature display properties, I will enable axis and names. Bone orientation is very important, so showing those axes will help a lot, and naming will help us identifying those bones when we will have multiple of them on the screen. What I want now is to align the bone with the 3D space, meaning now I will lay it on the ground. Since the 3D cursor is set to the origin of the armature and it's also set on the head of the bone, what I want to do is snap the tip of the bone or tail of the bone onto the 3D cursor and then move it on the y-axis backward. So I will select the tail, press Shift S and selection to cursor. Now I will press G and Y to move it on the y-axis. Now we can see that the axis of the bone are aligned with the world axis. I won't go too much in depth with those information, but make sure that you correctly align your bone following along with this tutorial. You can edit the armature as you will do with vertices. So now I will select the head of the root bone and press E to extrude a new bone. I will also press Z to constrain the extrusion on the Z axis. Now I can grab the bone and press G, Z to move it vertically and align it with the body of our Game Boy character. We will call this bone DEF body. DEF as deformation. In an armature, bones can be organized as layers. Unfortunately, it's not as handy as using collection. But Finn has developed the Bone Layer Manager that will allow us to deal with those layers with ease. You will find the link to download the add-on into the source file description. Just download the latest version, then in Blender go into Edit, Preferences, Add-on, Install from File and go loading the zip file. Then make sure it's activated. This is a must-have whenever you are doing rigging. This will add a new tab to your end menu called Bone Layer, where you will be able to display the different layers. So I will call this first layer DEF, like deformation. Then I will select the root bone, click this round icon to move it onto this layer and call it root. Now I will get back into object mode by pressing tab and I will enter edit mode onto the limb. The idea is to select a loop of vertices on the base of the arm, press Shift S and snap the cursor here. This will allow us to create a new bone back into edit mode into the armature. Shift A. It will create this new bone that will be aligned with the arm. I just need then to move its tail till I reach the wrist. I will right click on the bone and subdivide it and then move the elbow a bit backward. I will name those bones defarm.l and defforearm.l. The .l will signify to Blender that it's the left side. So here I'm forgetting to do it. Don't forget to do it. Add .l in the end. I will select the tail of the forearm, press E to extrude a def end bone.l, and then I will duplicate Shift-D this bone and place it as if it was the finger. You can see the thin dotted line, meaning that this bone is parented to the forearm bone but not connected. If I switch to pose mode to enter the mode that allows us to animate the rig, we can see that it's following the rotation of the arm but not of the end. So back into edit mode, I will select first the finger, then the end, press Ctrl P and use the option Keep Offset. Now the finger bone is the child of the end, meaning that it will follow any transformation applied to the end, whether it's rotation, translation or scaling. Now I will duplicate this bone a couple of times and move it so that it does align with the other fingers. I will identify each finger using the A, B, C suffix onto their name, then add the .left or .l suffix. Don't forget to oftenly rotate the view so that you can see your armature through every angle. I've pressed Shift H to hide every bones but this one, and I will right click and choose Subdivide to cut it into half. I will then place each joint properly. I will also properly name the bone A01 and A02.l. I will repeat the process on each finger, selecting them, right-clicking, subdividing them, then align them with the shape of the finger. Note that I tried to keep the same orientation as workspace for each bone, meaning that their Z-axis is pointing upward. To rotate a bone onto its own Y-axis, you need to select it and press Ctrl R. Then I will go back into the bone layer manager and hide the root bone and scale it down to make sure that it fits the size of our character. It doesn't matter if it's 10 times bigger, but it's just a matter of visual display. Note that I'm using individual origin while rigging. Most of the time this is the best choice because it will allow you to scale the bone from the tail to the head. In the meantime, I've extruded a bone from the head of the body and moved it to align it with the leg. Then I've extruded a second bone so that I have a thigh bone and a shin bone that will compose the full leg. Finally, I will extrude forward an ultimate bone that is going to be the deformation bone for the foot. Since I want the foot bone Z-axis to be oriented up and the leg Z-axis to be oriented forward, I will press Ctrl R 180 so that they will rotate on their Y local axis by 180 degrees. This is called the bone roll, whenever you are rotating a bone along its Y axis. This doesn't mean you can make rock and roll by rotating a stone on its local Y axis. At this point, all of our deformation bones are created, so what we can do is to symmetrize the rig. If you have properly named your bone, which I haven't, but it doesn't matter, you can go back into edit mode, select every bone and right click and select symmetrize. Every bone that has a .left or .l suffix will be symmetrized on the other side with the name finishing by the suffix .r. So I just redo the process and renamed properly my arm.l and forearm.l bones. Then I will go back into object mode, select first the limbs object, then the armature object and press Ctrl P with automated weight. This will automatically add an armature modifier to the limbs object and create the vertex group corresponding to each bone and correctly bind the object to this bone. If you press Ctrl Tab to enter pose mode, you can now rotate the different bone and see how your character is behaving. If you have any bug, it generally means that you may have some naming problem. Back into object mode, I will repeat the process. First select the body of my character, then the armature, press Ctrl P, but this time I will select with empty groups. Blender will create a vertex group per bone, but it won't assign any vertices to it. Since I want the whole body to be assigned to the dev torso or dev body bone, I will search for this group, and once I find it, I will select everything and click Assign in the vertex group panel. Now when I rotate the torso, only the body is moving, and I want to attach the extremity of the limbs to the torso. So first of all, we need to parent the limbs to the torso. I will go into edit mode, select the arm, the thigh, etc. and then select the body and press Ctrl P, keep offset. Now when I go back into pose mode and I rotate the body, the limbs will follow and everything will follow. As you remember, a child will follow the transformation of its parent, so the limbs are following the body. Now to make sure that the root of the arms are pinned in a way to the body, I will go into edit mode and select those loops, and then in the vertex group I will search for the deformation bone of the body or the torso, and I will assign them with an influence of 1. This now means that those vertices will follow with an influence of 100% the body movement. We can display the influence of those vertex group by going into the overlay menu and enable the vertex group display and set it to active. Black means there is absolutely no influence on those vertices, red means there is full influence. The same way I will assign the root of the leg to the deformation body vertex group. Now you can enter pose mode and move the different part of your character by moving the different bone and double check if it does deform properly. Once you're done, select all the bones and press Alt R, Alt G, Alt S to reset any rotation, scale or translation you would have created in pose mode. If you feel like everything behaves properly, get back into edit mode and get rid of the right bones. The idea is that we will create the mechanism in the next video and we will work only on one side. Once we are done, we will just have to symmetrize everything. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and follow me. I'll see you on the next one.